listen, you know Joe Biden. You are friends with Joe Biden. Take us into the room with him now. How will he be feeling,
Well,
Bob, in this moment?
okay. I want to be honest with you, and that's one of the things I love being able to be with Times Radio, this great enterprise from the London Times, and what a success you've made it into the radio and TV by way of internet mode. Um, this is not a happy moment. I don't want to pretend. Sorry, Joe, yay, Kamala. That's not how I'm going to be. I was in the room with him in 1972 when he first announced for Senate in Delaware and won in the closest race in the country. And I was working at the Watergate for the DNC as youth vote director. And I organized a youth vote forum for him in Delaware. He loved it so much, he had me over at his house, and we've stayed friends since. So I'm not happy at all. And I think those thousands of delegates who are unhappy about how he has been forced out are not happy. And I think that much of the country is not happy, but this was inevitable. It was
And
since that debate, and I think he finally grew to recognize it, where, and it was awful. That 20-second segment is what did it in when he went, when he did that. And I was at the National Press Club and hundreds of media were watching and the whole room groaned. And they groaned not because it meant that Biden was screwing up, but it meant that they were so sad for him. It was obvious what was happening there in terms of the problem that he had adjusting to his further and further age. So here we are, and he did a heroic motion for the country. He has endorsed his vice president. He has endorsed Kamala Harris, and that will be the campaign. I mean, there are those who are already saying it's going to be the prosecutor against the convict. It's going to be, the felony against the prosecutor. And so, I mean, people are working that kind of a campaign out, and it will be a chance for the Democrats, mostly because there's also a message that we got today. I will be going to the convention, and the convention will be, we will continue our message to showcase what Democrats are doing and what the mission is for the country, as opposed to killing abortion and a Supreme Court that works for corporations, and all of that, that Trump has done, and killing democracy, and so forth, and stopping and never getting to an infrastructure bill. They will be spotlighting the agenda that Biden has done successfully and will be continuing in terms of fighting for health care, fighting for people's rights. So
so,
that's the way
Bob,
that it's going to go.
I'd like to jump in. It's Sarah Baxter here, Bob.
Hi,
Uh,
Sarah.
hi. You're talking about taking the fight now to Donald Trump, which I think Kamala Harris will be able to do in the way that you
Right.
outlined. The party will be able to unite around that message. As someone who's known Joe Biden for a long time, Bob, do you think it's good for his legacy? After all, Nelson Mandela in South Africa, he only served one term and stood down at 80. Is this good for Joe Biden's legacy, that he has gone somewhat reluctantly, but actually with good grace in the end?
The short answer to your question is yes. But Joe was a creature of public service and is a creature of public service. Wait till you hear the speech he gives at the convention. It's going to make everybody think twice, because he gives fantastic speeches, as you know, as he did in the States of the Union and when he spoke to the press corps and so forth. Every time at the State of the Union, it was phenomenal. He will be a very effective spokesman, and he will grow into the fact that this is his legacy. I just want to make sure it's not like taking the other party. Gerald Ford saved us from Nixon. Biden saved us from Trump. I want to make sure it's not just a one-time thing, because what Joe did is so important for the country. And the thing that everybody forgets is he stopped a recession. You remember all the economists said that there will be a recession and we're in such a dump since COVID. And Biden jacked money into the economy, even got Joe Manchin to go along with it. And he got the billions of hundreds of billions of dollars into the economy, and he threw it into jobs and economic security and healthcare for people. And the recession never came. And now the
But
World Bank says we are powering the world's economy. So we've got to keep that going, and not to have tax breaks, another $5 trillion that Trump wants to give to billionaires. We can't
and
do
if
that
I,
in this country.
But what about Kamala Harris? Because although she was his vice president, when one thinks of her advantages against Donald Trump, I mean, I certainly think of the reproductive rights issue, standing up for
That's
women
big.
against an all-male ticket. I think of her record as a prosecutor. I think of her as a symbol of diversity and progress in America. I don't necessarily think of her as particularly strong, say, on her economic message. How is she whereas Trump, of course, loves to say that he presided over the best economy ever. That's Trumpist hyperbole, but even so, people believe him. How's she going to counter that message?
No, they don't believe him. Trump lost jobs, and the first president since Hoover to do it. He lost jobs, and Biden's created 15 million jobs. So that is a lie. One of the 30,000 that he said during his presidency, and the 30 that he said during his debate. Trump is I hate to say this, but no one better than Harris to prosecute the case that Trump is an ultimate outright liar. And that's what he does about everything, and including the election. And so on the economy, the Biden-Harris message has been, we have made the economy strong, and the World Bank said that it is powering the economy of the entire world because of what the United States is accomplishing. And Trump says we're going to have we're going to drill, baby, drill, except for the fact that we are now the largest exporter and producer of energy in the world. That's what the Biden team has created in the United States. So Harris will grow to the mission. She was a brilliant senator, and she's known as a phenomenal speaker. And I think that she is going to show the world what she's got. But again, I can't just jump from one cliff into another mountain. I'm not going to do it until I take, even Harris put out a statement saying that it's fine to have people take time to grieve. I think we're entitled to a couple of days of saying Joe Biden's political death, even though, as you pointed out, he's got a phenomenal legacy, but to him, he's very unhappy about not being able to keep it going directly by himself.
Okay.
We have time to get over that.
Okay, just briefly, Bob, because that was going to be my next question. Is that we heard briefings over the weekend saying that he was feeling betrayed, Joe Biden.
Right.
That's how he'll feel tonight, will he? He will feel hurt.
Well, my cousin said to me that the letter he wrote is sort of like a hostage letter. It's almost that. I think that though he knows that this is for the good of the country. So unfortunately, I already used that soundbite of the hostage letter. I hope you say, but he also knows that it was for the good of the country. So I know that he's a patriot, and I know that he recognizes the reality. But I was chief of staff of the House Aging Committee. We abolished mandatory retirement over 65. We abolished age discrimination over 40. That's what this whole election has been. And one of the TV networks was saying just a moment ago, now Trump becomes the old candidate. He becomes the president who's going to be in his 80s against the president candidate on our side, who has the vibrance and the fight, and the vitality and the dynamism and the energy. So I think Biden will be the biggest supporter of Kamala Harris. He will go around the country. He will campaign for her. He will do fundraising for her. There will be joint events. And
I agree with that, Bob. I think
Okay.
it's going to be a big tear-jerking moment at the Democratic National Convention
Right.
when he gives up and turns to Harris as his heir. And everybody's going to weep a little, and then they're going to really rally behind her, and nobody more than him.
Let's speak to Susan Platt, who is a former advisor to Joe Biden. Susan, hello, good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm very well, Susan. Thank you for being with us. As somebody who knows Joe Biden, who's worked with him and been close to him, how does this moment feel personally for you?
Well, it's a sad day. It's a sad day because it's a culmination of 50 years of service to his country, and he has been steadfast and clear-eyed on where he wanted to take this country, and he's worked hard for all those 50 years to do that. So we're going to miss him. We're going to miss his laser focus on what he believes needs to be done for our country. But it's also a day where I think a lot of us are very proud of him. We're very proud to say we worked for a man who truly has put his service to country above all else. Donald Trump talks about the patriots who stormed the Capitol. Joe Biden is truly what envisions an American patriot. for standing up for all of our ideals, moving this country forward out of a pandemic, starting to get our economy going, building back this country, and hopefully, when we get through our convention, and I know we will, and I know we'll be united, we'll be able to go out and elect our first woman of color president in our history.
How do you think Joe Biden feels, Susan? By all accounts this weekend, betrayed.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, clearly there's been a lot of hand-wringing going on for the last couple of weeks after the debate, which he even said he had an off night and he was not feeling well. But politics is a tough business, and he's been at it for a long time. So I believe he understands what was going on. I believe he did not want to continue to put Democrats in a situation where they were torn between loyalty and what they believe might be an avenue to victory. And I think now we have that. He's made the decision. We move forward and we go out and elect Kamala Harris.
Possibly too late as well. I mean, some suggestion, Susan, that this process has been protracted, that it's done a huge amount of damage to the brand of the Democrats. It's given Donald Trump the opportunity, the freedom to be able to create this narrative around himself. The momentum is with him, while the Democrats are a few months out from an election without a candidate, technically.
Well, they've just finished their convention. And so, of course, you expect the momentum, regardless of any other situation, to be with the Republicans right now. But you wait till we finish ours, and I know in my heart, and I believe in my brain, that we will come out united and energized more than ever to not just elect the first woman and woman of color, but to do right by Joe Biden, our president, and what he wants us to do. And I do believe that we will just be raring to go once we come out of that convention.
Okay. If you were advising Kamala Harris, Susan, who would you suggest that she pick as her vice presidential nominee?
I'm not going there. The good news is we have a lot of candidates ready to step up that are sharp, that have been elected, that know what they want to, how they want to go with this country, and how they want to save our democracy. And I think there's
give us a name. Go on, pluck a name out. Have a go. Go on.
There's plenty to choose from. I'm not gonna. I mean, I could say Josh Shapiro, who's from my home state of Pennsylvania. He's great. Mark Kelly from Arizona is great. Andy Beshear from Kentucky is great. There's a whole slew of folks that could do it, and I know we're very capable of coming back from all this and being stronger than we were before.
What kind of qualities would be needed, though? What is the criteria for that candidate?
I think that's Kamala Harris's choice.
But you're advising her. She's asking you, Susan. You're advising her. What would you tell her?
I'm sorry. Someone who can fill in should the worst happen, and that's what Joe Biden did. He chose someone in Kamala Harris who could fill his shoes. God forbid something happened, and that's what she needs to do too.